Hi guys, welcome to the 17th annual San Francisco Zine Fest. Some applause. Yeah, there you go. I heard some woos. Joining us today is our guest of honor, Nidhi Chanani.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out.
I'm just gonna read off this bio. Sorry, my laptop decided to just freeze. So we have this awesome projector screen and this projector, but it's lots of blank space. But you have this awesome banner and her artwork to look at while I read off this bio. Nidhi Chanani is a Bay Area-based Indian-American cartoonist and writer, an instructor in the Master of Fine Arts Comics program at the California College of Arts, and a 2012 Champion of Change honoree by the Obama administration. Just a quick note on that. When I tried to promote the event on Facebook, because it had the word Obama in it, they said it was a political event. And so they said, you don't have authority to post political events. And I was like, okay, this is weird.
Wow.
I'm like, what makes it political? So I argued, I'm like, wait, this event is not, how is it political? I don't understand. And then they didn't actually say what the issue was. But I guess, because I tried different things, and then I was like, remove the word Obama. And then they're like, Facebook ad approved. You can certify it, but then if you certify your account, then for that you need to, like, I think they need to verify my actual mailing address, and they mail you something. And I was like, no, this is going to take too long. I just did it. I need it soon.
That's
anyway,
nuts.
yes. I don't know if that's them trying to be very proactive because of the whole Russian thing where they were like, oh, fake ads, maybe you're making a political ad, so first you need to verify that you are an actual person who exists and not a bot who's making this. But I'm like, it doesn't, I don't know. It was too much. Anyway, Nidhi's exceptional debut graphic novel, Pashmina, a tale about the hardship and self-discovery that is born from juggling two cultures and two worlds, has received glowing reviews from numerous publications. Her second graphic novel, Jukebox, about two Muslim-American cousins, Shaheen and Tanaz, in San Francisco, is slated to release in 2020. Nidhi draws and dreams every day with her husband, daughter, and their two cats in the San Francisco Bay Area. She creates because it makes her happy, with the hope that it can make others happy too. Thank you, Nidhi. So, has anyone read this book? Seen this book? Great. So I've actually bought 2 copies from you so far. The first one I bought because a friend of mine said she met you several years ago. And I said, all right, this is a great opportunity because I'm going to ask Nidhi if she wants to be our guest of honor for San Francisco Zine Fest. But also my friend wanted, so I'm like, hey, I would like to purchase a book. And it was for my friend. The next one I bought was just this past week. And it was for my little cousin, who is 12 years old. And I think she would relate to the character a lot.
Yeah.
So that book is going to her, which is actually this copy. So I'm realizing I don't actually have a copy for myself from you, so I'll have to buy one.
We can remedy that.
Yes, we'll fix it. So I don't know, well, I posted it on my Facebook, but I don't know if you remember the first time we met.
No, I have like a terrible memory. So, sorry.
No problem, because at that time, I was also an attendee at a Zine Fest or a Comic Expo kind of thing. Has anyone heard of Alternative Press Expo? So it used to be based in San Francisco, and they moved down to San Jose several years ago. I would say 3 or 4 years ago now. And again, a friend was tabling there, and I happened to walk around, and I saw that there was this one South Asian woman there. And I was like, oh my God, there's a South Asian person here tabling. I'm going to buy her work. And it was Nidhi.
That's often the case. I'm the one South Asian in the room.
Yes, I'm realizing, yeah, we definitely need more representation at Zine Fest of South Asian folk. But it was really cool, because then when I decided, when I became the executive director of San Francisco Zine Fest, I realized this is a great opportunity. I get to invite Nidhi to be the guest of honor at my fest.
That's awesome.
So thank you so much for agreeing to come. Because
Thanks
otherwise
for
I'd be like,
having me.
oh, what the hell? I had this great idea of having Nidhi, and now she didn't even want to come.
No, I think I posted when we announced that I was the guest, but the first time I ever came to San Francisco was for a Zine Fest, and I was just out of high school in community college, and all these zine friends that I had never met before, but I didn't tell my mom I hadn't met them before. Because we knew each other from sending zines in the mail, decided to come together and go to San Francisco for a Zine Fest. I'm not sure if it was this one or another one because it was a while ago. And it was my first ever time here in the city, and we did all the touristy stuff that I would not do now. But it's kind of like this full circle, you know? I started out doing zines when I was in high school, and now I'm here as, you know, the guest of honor, which also just saying that about myself makes me feel weird. But it's really cool. It feels very comfortable and at home because I did make zines, you know, and then now make longer comics.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll ask you, I guess, the basic question. What made you want to write zines? I mean, not everyone just decides, hey, I'm going to make something and print it into paper and distribute it or try to sell it. Why did you decide to make zines as a high schooler?
Well, in high school, so people who know my work now will probably perceive me as a really happy, loving, well-adjusted human. In high school, I was none of those things. I was pretty miserable. I had a pretty traumatic childhood. I don't really bother to talk about because I don't want to. But zines were my way of putting that out there and connecting with other people who were also feeling feelings, you know, and also being able to share something sometimes with strangers is easier than sharing things with people who are close to you. And so it was a way for me to work through my pain. And I think part of the reason that I make really happy, uplifting art is because I had this really, I mean, no really young kids in the audience, but like really shitty childhood. And now I don't have that. My life is happy, and I don't know, I appreciate it so much. So I want to put that love out there, and I'm not in that place anymore, but that is what writing zines and exchanging zines in the mail was for me then. It was a way for me to share what was going on with me internally that I couldn't really share around me because a lot of the stuff that was happening was like directly in my family, you know, and so it was really important to make something that was creative and honest and be able to share it with other people.
I can sort of relate to that in that there are still zines. I wrote this zine about my mom, really positive stories about her, but I still haven't shown it to her.
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah.
these are great. And I have friends' moms who say the same. They're like, these are really great stories. You should. I'm like, I don't think she's ready to hear some of the stories,
Right.
even though it all puts her all in a good light, and she would love them, but I'm just not ready to share them yet.
Yeah.
I'm seeing lots of faces in the audience, young and older. How many folks here have made zines or make zines? Currently, couple hands. 3, all right, 3 hands, 4, 5. Great. What kind of work are you writing in your zines? Like, what is it that you're putting out? Do you find it that it's helping you to connect with others? Or is it a form of self-expression for you that is just your own? We can go around. We'll start from that side. Fantastic.
Nice.
What about you two?
Cool.
I made mine to connect with people because I just started school after a while, so I wanted to meet more people, so I made it, and it helped me make more friends.
Those are great. Okay.
I made zines in collaboration with
It is good to know what your poop looks like. Your poop tells you a lot whether or not you're healthy. I learned that the hard way. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, read my zine about it. It's turn.
Well, basically, a friend of my sister reached out to me to work on a scene about ethnic identity. Like all of us being Eritrean young women, and that being like a really small community. So talking about that, but also like solidarity with other people of color.
I hope you guys are finding other folks to relate to at the Zine Fest as you walk around. Hopefully you're also talking to everyone. And pass out your zines. Even if you're tabling, then you can sell your zines. But if you're not tabling, bring your zines in and pass them out to folks also. Or ask them if they're up for a trade. They might do it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just by a show of hands, do people still mail zines to each other? Yes? Okay, that's still happening. Okay.
I mean, I sell my zines, so I mail them to the buyers,
Yeah.
but I haven't traded
Okay.
through mail.
That's pretty much in high school. That was, you've got these kind of like distribution zines where they would do reviews of zines, and then you would send your zine to that person, hoping that they would send a zine back. And I mean, I was getting mail all the time. Part of why I started it too, outside of like getting my feelings out, and I got really deep really fast, by the way. But the other part is I love mail. I absolutely love mail. I love stationery. I love excuses to buy stationery. I love stickers. That kind of, and I'm still there. I'm in my 30s now. So high school to now, forever. So yeah.
So what made you decide to write a graphic novel, to move on from zines?
Well, I started my career out doing illustrations. So all these are, single illustrations. And one of the things that I love about creating illustration and in doing illustration work is trying to tell a story in one image. And I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And I partly did that just to force myself to get good. So I dropped out of art school. I was going to the Academy of Art, and it was bleeding me dry. And I knew that I wasn't where I should be, and the only way for me to get there is to draw every day. At least that's what I figured. It was kind of like that 10,000 hours rule, and I had not put in that time. So I needed to keep drawing.
Can you share with us what the 10,000 hours rule is for the folks who may not have heard
Oh,
of it?
yeah. So the theory is, I believe it's Malcolm Gladwell who wrote the book Outliers, and it's he does this analysis of different people who excel in their field, and a lot of the people, whether it's playing piano or playing sports, anything like that, where they excel either at a young age or later in life, but usually at a young age, it's because they've put in 10,000 hours of practice. And so that's what a lot of folks are referring to when they're referring to that amount of time. It's not an arbitrary number. It's actually, he's a researcher. And so when I went to art school and I came out of art school, I said, I really haven't put in that much time. I went and got my bachelor's degree at UC Santa Cruz, and I did a bunch of different jobs out of school, and I just kept coming back to art. But I came back to it, I drew stuff, and I knew I wasn't there in my skill base. And so I went to art school. I dropped out because they weren't making me draw enough. I was like, I'm not hitting that 10,000 hours. And so I forced myself to finish a full illustration every single day of the week for 3 years. So that was basically the base of my entire portfolio. So within the first year of doing that, I got my first request for a print from somebody I didn't know, which, family is going to ask you so that they can support you. But in order to make myself accountable, I sent those full illustrations out to a mailing list of family and friends. And midway through the first year of doing that, I started getting people emailing me to be added to this list who I didn't know because I did something that was, somebody liked and they forwarded it on. And that mailing list has grown and it still exists, 10 years later, but I don't send out drawings every day anymore. But in that time period, so I spent that 3 years creating single illustrations, trying to tell a story in my work. And around that 3-year mark, I felt pretty confident with my work, but I also wanted to tell a longer story. And so that's when I started to think maybe I should put together a pitch and work on trying to sell a comic.
Why the story that is Pashmina? Why that story?
So I wanted to tell a story about the Indian American experience in comics format. One, because I had never seen that before. And it's always nice to address a need in the market, right? There's a gap. So what's the gap? There is nothing like this out there. So so one, that makes it harder to sell because they don't have proof of sales, right? So then that's like extra pressure for the person who does occupy that place or the title. But two, just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean that it isn't gonna make money or isn't needed. So there was all that stuff. But it was also the base of this experience that I had when my parents visited India when I was probably 10 or 11. They came back with a suitcase full of gifts. And
I can relate. Yes.
they also left with a suitcase full of gifts, okay?
Yes.
So that's like a requirement. You go, you do all this shopping ahead of time. And I remember being like, why are we buying so much stuff? Don't they have stuff there? But it's different stuff. So my parents had gone and they came back. And I remember opening this suitcase and it was such a impactful experience of opening that suitcase and seeing a lot of things that were familiar yet unfamiliar and smelling the smells and eating very interesting candy, like a lot of digestive aids are candy. So anyways, and just like having this moment of opening a suitcase and feeling like I was opening myself up to another world. Even though I was steeped in Indian culture, I have a huge family, we were part of the Los Angeles kind of Indian community, everything that we did every weekend was with all these Indians. But opening that suitcase and kind of like that experience of going somewhere else, like feeling like you had really a whole new world in front of you, that was how I based Pashmina off, or that experience was the base of what I wanted to build Pashmina out into, but I didn't know it at the time. Obviously I was 11, but it stuck with me. And then later on when I sat down to work on the story about a mother and a daughter, I wanted to also present India in only a positive light. Growing up, the things that I saw here about India were always negative. They were like starving kids or hokey gurus or whatever, and I wanted like a generation to hopefully share this experience with a generation of a girl who only experiences her culture in a positive way. So when the main character, Priyanka Das, opens the suitcase and finds the Pashmina, she's transported to a fantasy version of India where everything she experiences is the positive stuff of India, and then she ends up, I'm not ruining the book, but she ends up going to the real India later on, and then she can, she kind of has that experience of comparing and contrasting. So that's a very long answer, I apologize.
No, I'm glad you explained. When was the last time you went to India?
Oh my gosh, I think it was for I just came back from a cousin's wedding. It was my oldest cousin's wedding, I don't know. It's been a while.
What was that experience like?
It was really fun because it was for a wedding. And it was a different area of India too. Like my family, I was born in Calcutta, and my family, most of my mom's side, actually all my mom's side still lives in India. My dad's side all came here, and both sides are humongous. the joke is every time I go back to India, I meet family members I didn't know existed. Because, it's just like people.
I don't find out I have relatives until they add me on Facebook, and I have to call up my parents. I'm like, who is this?
Right.
And they're like, it's like your second cousin's in-law. I'm like, I don't. Can I not add them? And they're like, it's okay. You've never met them in your life. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna add this person. I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but what's nice about at least weddings is you get to go to a different area because my family is like kind of based in Calcutta, so when you go, you just have to be with family. You don't get to go around. But my husband isn't Indian, so I kind of used him as an excuse too. When they were like, okay, when you're done with the wedding, come to Calcutta. I'm like, no, I have to show him around. So, because, you do feel obligated because it's a long trek and you want to be able to see your family.
Yeah, I went to a friend's wedding, and they're in Hyderabad. The wedding was there. It was 2 years ago, so it's southeast India, and my family's from the western part of India. I didn't visit my family in the western part, and they were upset. They're like, how could you come to India and not visit us? I'm like, you're hours on a plane away. Like, it's a whole new thing. And I'm here for a wedding. They still talk about it in the family WhatsApp group, like, he came all the way to India. Didn't even say hi. Didn't even tell us he was coming. And I'm like, because I knew you'd put me through this guilt trip for not visiting you, even though you're like 1,000 miles away.
That's like my secret dream of like just planning a trip to India to actually see all the amazing stuff. Like people who don't have family there get to see all this stuff that I'll never see. And I'm like, I'm just gonna like go and not tell anybody.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I speak to friends who aren't Indian, and they will tell me, they're like, I've been to this part of India, the northern part, the southern part. And I'm like, I haven't. I've only seen family because they won't let me go anywhere else unless I visit.
It's totally
and it's
true.
terrible.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know anything about my country because they won't let me travel. What was it like? I mean, what was the experience like after having published Pashmina compared to what it was like after, like making a zine and having it out? I mean, just you're more well known through Pashmina now, so. what is that
Right.
like?
I mean, it was my debut graphic novel. It's my first experience with a major publisher. So, and I pushed for and kind of made my own tour happen. So I went to, I don't remember how many cities now. I think it was like 6 or 8 around there after the book published. And, you really realize that having a publishing house behind you that has its own distribution channels and its own network and connections with libraries and teachers, and it's not just you then. It's not just me being like, hey, I'm Nidhi, this is my book, please like support me, which is fine. But when you spend, I spent 4 years making Pashmina. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done professionally. And you have this team of like PR, and they have like library sales. They have all these people who are dedicated to getting your book out there. I mean, obviously it's a business, so it's so that they can make the money they need to stay afloat, because publishing is struggling. But it's also just an amazing experience to know that there are all these people out there advocating for your success. So it's kind of magical, right? And then also, like I had just had this experience, so I'm going to New York for New York Comic Con. I'm taking myself there on some panels, but I have a lot of free time, so I asked my publisher, I was like, can you give me some contacts for bookstores there so I can try to schedule some signings? So we got the contacts, I sent the emails, and I was like, hi, my name is Nidhi. I wrote this book. I will be in New York from these dates, and I'd love to schedule a signing. And, you can send that out and not get a response, or like, we don't know who you are, or we don't care. We get so many authors who want to come to our store because we're in Manhattan. But the response that I got was like, oh, yeah, we know your book. We love your book. We sell it all the time. We'd love to have you. And I'm like, oh, you know who I am? You know my book? You sell it? Like, it's still that experience of, it's still fresh and new, and hopefully that doesn't ever change. But that's kind of the magic part of it, is the different, but I have to say though, in high school, sending my zine out and then getting a zine as a trade, kind of similar experience. I don't know. When I would open up the mailbox and like be like, there's all this stuff in there. I don't know. It's still exciting. I think that there's parallels there, right? Just like people reading, appreciating your work, and giving you either opportunity, feedback that's positive. It's like whatever you're sharing, whatever you're putting out there, if somebody's receiving it and giving you something back, that's always gonna feel good, whether it's small or big, right? So.
Definitely. I mean, that's part of a cool thing about Zine Fest. As a tabler, you get honest and appreciative feedback, but honesty also means it's not always appreciative. I remember one time someone walked by my booth, or just my table, didn't even approach it. Let's say where you folk are in the second row, and like I'm here, just kind of looked at my work. My president just went, sad, and then walked away. And I was like, what? And I'm like, I don't understand. What happened? Was it me? Was it my work? Because it's about this one dead family. But he didn't explain. He just said sad and walked away. And I was like, oh, well, that didn't feel so great. But you also have great positive experiences where people tell you that they can relate, that like when they even cry just reading your work, or are really happy and laugh and tell you how much they love it. Or of course, when they actually pay you for your work, instead of just saying, I love this, I don't have money though, here you go. So I'm like, oh, great, you're also paying me and supporting me as an artist. Thank you so much. So that helps.
I think it's interesting because like what's amazing about doing a table, if you guys have never done a table before, and putting your artwork out there, is that vulnerability that you're opening yourself up to, right? So you're gonna get that full range. You know, I get the full range of, oh, I like your artwork, it's for kids, right? I'm like, no, actually, it's for anybody. There's no limitation. Just because it has animals in it doesn't mean you can't put it up in your house if you're grown adult, you can like animals. It's okay. And then, you know, I definitely have had a lot of interesting comments. The one that surprises a lot of people to hear, but I get it all the time, is people look through my artwork, and they're like, oh, you don't have any white people in your work. Could I buy this, but could you change the skin color on these characters? Happens all the time. I get a lot of messages too from online store, Etsy. I'd really like to buy this piece, but can you change the skin color? And it's just like at the point that I'm at now, like 10 years, I used to respond and say, oh no, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And now I just like delete them because it's pretty consistent. But it's also like, for me internally, I'm like, God, I can't even think of the privilege involved in going around and saying, oh, this person doesn't look like me, can you change that? You know, and so that's been an interesting thing. But then also, I have people who come to the table and they'll look through my artwork for a decent amount of time, and then I'll look away, I'm doing stuff behind the table, and they're crying. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not why I did this. Like, that's not why I created this artwork to make you cry. But they're crying because they see themselves represented and they feel seen. And so you really, that's the thing about putting your work out there and seeing how people receive it. It's the whole gamut, man. Like, you really get this wide range, and you have to be, maybe you're not ready for it sometimes, but you put it out there and you see what happens. Kind of amazing. Yeah,
that part it's actually inspiring and motivating when you realize the feedback you get. Because when I first started making zines, a friend and I were just kind of trying to push each other because I was working as an engineer, he was going to law school. We didn't have time. We're like, let's just take aside like 6 months of a year and make something. We'll force ourselves, we'll create a deadline, and then we put out our work. But then as we told more friends about it, more friends wanted to do it too. So then for the first volume of our zine that we did, we had 23 friends in total. Because they're like, wait, if you're putting a deadline, you're going to follow this through? Because we want to do it too, because we don't feel creative either. So we did that.
That's
and then
amazing.
It just kept happening. And this is the 10th year of it. We're like, oh my God, we're still making this go. But then when I first started writing about myself and like South Asian characters and my family and my mom, and that was another thing also. I'm like, I don't see a lot of stories about South Asians. And I want there to be a space, I want there to be a platform for our stories. And then just hearing folks who don't identify as South Asian and just say, like, I still relate to this. I'm like, this is great. Like you, I'm like, I'm glad you didn't say, how come there aren't any white people in it? Like, I'm glad you were able to still relate.
Yeah.
Because the stories are universal. They're about my mom. They're about my family being an immigrant, all that other stuff. Yeah. I
Yeah,
forgot.
I mean, I'm in a mixed race marriage, and that's one of the first things that people knew my work for is I would always make the couples not look identical, you know? And people are like, oh my God, this is me. And I never see myself and my partner represented in adorable artwork that I want to put up on my wall or give as a card during Valentine's or whatever. And it's so amazing to be able to create that and be able to hear that it means something to people. You know, it's really necessary. And at the same time, it's not necessary, right? Like, you don't have to look like the characters exactly to a T to get something out of that artwork. And one of my personal joys has always been, I have this one piece, it's not there, that is two mermaids. They're two brown mermaids, and they're dancing underwater. It's called Water Dance. And little girls, all ethnicities, would just like come and lose their minds over, I need this, like I want this up in my room. And I'm like, there are brown mermaids in all these girls' rooms, and they don't see that, right? They just see like, this makes me happy. And that's like, I think, the beauty of representation when it's done well, right? You can identify with it, but also with little kids, it's so important for them to be able to see themselves or see other things outside of the dominant culture represented in a way that's beautiful and relatable and something that they want to adorn their walls with, you know? So, I don't know.
I'm going to segue that to the next book you're working on, which is about two Muslim American cousins.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
So, Jukebox, I'm in thumbnails right now, so I have the whole outline worked out, but thumbnails is really where I'm working out the nuance of the story. But Jukebox is about two Muslim American girls living in San Francisco, which is awesome. I'm super excited to draw the city in a comic format. And they find a jukebox that takes them back in time. So I see Pashmina as my fantasy and identity piece. And this is two brown girls who get to go on an adventure. And when they go back in time, the history that is populated with people of color, because we're always erased, right? And there's no, I mean, there is a deep thematic message that I have with it, but at the surface, they're just going back to different eras of history and like learning something and seeing and experiencing things, talking to people from that era. So I really wanted to create a story where it's two cousins who aren't necessarily the same, but they're tight and they time travel. So it's been really fun.
And it's based in San Francisco?
Yes.
Any particular reason for that?
Because I like drawing the city.
That's a good reason.
I mean, a lot of it's the inner Sunset, because that's where my husband and I lived when we were living here. So there's a couple scenes from Grandview Park, and I don't know if anybody here is from the city, but there's gonna be stuff, like there's the two cousins, there's one of my favorite scenes to draw is them just like waiting for the Muni. I'm like, oh, there it is, finally, you know, so. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I kind of need to message the photographer to come in here, so I'm going to do that.
Okay.
But while that happens, does anyone in the audience have questions that you would like to ask Nidhi? If not, Nidhi's going to tell us more about some of the stuff that she has over there on this side. Okay, hold on.
I have some business cards if people, I mean, I don't know if I could get somebody to pass these out. I don't know. Yeah. If you don't have one. And maybe, how am I going to do this? I have some giveaways. Who's got a birthday coming up? Okay. All right, when she's done, we'll do one giveaway there. And trying to think, what's another good basis of a giveaway? I totally should have prepared for this, but I'll just tell you, I flew here not from very far, but from LA this morning. I got up at 5 in the morning because my cousin got married this weekend. So I've been in like wedding space for 3 days. I did have a lot of wine last night. And so then I woke up at 5, got on a plane. So I have not thought about how I'm doing this. So any help is appreciated. Yes. Oh, anybody here from LA? Yeah. Nice. I did not see that coming. Okay. Oh, do you guys, okay. Who here is under 20? Yes, okay. Sorry, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, so these two and her, yeah. Maybe one each. Anybody here over 60? There we go. Another winner? I don't know. Let me see. What's it? This is the last one, so this might be more than, it's a gentleman in the back with the beret. Oh, did we get them all? Yes, we got them all. So, so we still have one left. Anybody who's born in India? No? Born internationally? Oh, 2. All right, we'll give you one, and then do you want to come by the table? We'll have more. Yeah. Cool. Yay, thank you guys for sharing personal information. And help.
Great. I was able to get in touch with him, so he'll be here shortly.
Awesome.
What else would you like to talk about? We have the time and the space.
No questions from the audience? Oh, there we
ahead.
go.
I'm not an artist or anything, but like, how is it going from like illustration? Well, maybe it's all similar, but deadlines, especially with the graphic novels. So they're like illustration versus graphic novel.
The deadlines are a lot longer for comics, and because they're a lot longer, you can ask a lot sooner. Like, I'm not gonna hit this deadline. Like, you were reading my bio, and you said Jukebox is gonna be out in 2020. No, it's not. It's gonna be out in 2021, which was adjusted because I was working on a picture book. And so the picture book, this sounds like a short amount of time, but believe me, it was mostly all pain. So just know 6 months of pain. But so the picture book that I finished this year, that took 6 months. The comic, right, the graphic novel is gonna take multiple years. So it's like I have this deadline list on my wall, and my favorite part is when I get to cross one of them off. But I have deadlines up until 2020 at this point, right? So it's by June of this year, I have to submit final art for this picture book. By October, I have to submit final art for the comic, and then colored art by X amount of, so really all of it is a juggling act. But it's really about having the work scheduled out so that I know I can spend X amount of weeks working on comics, and then I have to start doing sketches this week for the next picture book. And that kind of, I don't know, that's new to me, switching from comics to picture book, because I'm writing it too. Actually, Jukebox, I'm co-writing with my husband. I'm doing all the heavy lifting though, guys. Like, He does not draw. So that's a collaborative effort. So I'll finish, like I just hit 80 pages before we went down to the wedding, and I printed it out, and I hand it to him, and I'm like, read this. And he's like, we're going to a wedding. You really expect me to like, sneak away and read these pages? I'm like, yes, I do. It's totally not happening. But, at that point, then we kind of talk about what's going to happen next, how we want the next scenes to unfold. And anything that, because part of the reason I had the idea of jukebox and a jukebox that takes you back in time is that my husband is an audiophile. He collects vinyl. I thought, by the way, that we had like 200, 300 records. We have like our whole living room is like all these cases of vinyl. And he heard me say 200, 300. He's like, no, we have like 1,400 records. I was like, oh my God. It doesn't look like a lot when you're kind of used to seeing it all the time. But we were having a conversation about jukeboxes and vinyl, and I was asking, how come you only hear like one song on a jukebox? He's like, well, because you can't play a 12-inch. You can't play a full album. And I was like, but what if you could? And he was like, that would be a humongous jukebox. And I was like, oh, it would. And then that's where the idea was born from that conversation. We started talking about crafting a story around it. So we're working on that together. And I've now lost the original question.
There was something about deadlines. I
Oh.
only remember because
Yeah.
I was gonna somehow segue into that.
Yeah.
So speaking of deadlines, we added 2 deadlines for you, which was,
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you didn't know, Nidhi, she designed the T-shirt, the festival T-shirt that someone in the audience is wearing. Thank you. Woo! And also the San Francisco Zine Fest 2018 poster, which is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, you can buy them at the Power Donut in the second room to help raise funds for San Francisco Zine Fest. So thank you for that. Right now, I'm going to pass the mic over to Katie from Assembly Member David Chu's office. Hi, Katie.
Hello. Hi, guys. My name is Katie Arbona. I'm a field representative with Assemblymember David Chu. And it is my pleasure to come to Zine Fest every year and present a certificate of recognition from the California State Assembly to the guest of honor. All right, I got this. I only do this every day. And so this certificate is presented to Nidhi Chanani in recognition of your selection of guest of honor at the 17th annual San Francisco Zine Fest. The California Legislature thanks you for your incredible work as an artist, storyteller, and educator in the Bay Area and applauds the outstanding skill and joy with which you share your creations with the world.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Of course.
Can I stand up? Or should I stand up?
Yeah.
Like a photo.
Photo op. I'll step down. Great. Thank you so much. Oh, all right. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we can we can stand, I guess, at this point. That was kind of a way to close the talk, so thank you so much and being patient with that. If anyone has any questions, you may ask now. If not, we will kind of bring this to a close. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is like my favorite because it's what I'm working on right now. And when I was working on Pashmina, it was like literally all I could think about if I wasn't doing anything else. It was just like story, story, story. I would just pop into a conversation with my husband, and he'd be like, "What? What are we talking about? We were just talking about dinner, and all of a sudden you're talking about Priyanka Das." So jukebox is like my life. So the jukebox is actually in an attic in a record shop in San Francisco. So the cousins are going to school here. They're 12 and 14. And we open with them going to school together, trying to establish the story, understand them. And then they stumble upon this jukebox in a record shop in the attic. And then they time travel to different places around the country. So the present day is in San Francisco. And then the past is, so far, we've done Boston, DC, and New York. And I don't know where else we're gonna, it's like I have the outline, so I know the beats of the story, I know the major points of the story, but the finer points, like where they're time traveling to, we're still working that out, which is pretty fun, and sometimes stressful, but mostly fun. So, yeah, does that answer your question? So you're asking about rules, which is also my favorite thing to figure out in a story, right? Because like magic has to have rules. It has to have a kind of a framework that allows these people to go in and out. So no, there's no jukebox on the other side, but the song that they listen to is playing on the other side. So that's what's pulling them there, is the music. Right? So it's the combination, obviously the record has to be played on the jukebox because then everybody would be time traveling. But it's an original pressing being played on the jukebox that takes them back. So it's like very audiophile. That's kind of my life, like with my husband, like hearing about, I don't know, I don't know if there are any audiophiles in the audience. Anybody listen to vinyl? Okay, a few. So there's a lot of like nuance with collectors and like anything, right? You kind of get really into the first pressing, the original label, mint condition, all that stuff. Not my bag, but totally my husband. So I learn a lot of that stuff, and I find it fascinating. You know when somebody loves something and they're so passionate about it, even if you could not care less, like hearing them talk about it kind of makes you feel excited and like gives you insight into who they are and what, they love. So I love hearing him talk about that stuff. So I kind of absorbed it and put that into some of the rules for how they come in and out of history.
Okay, one last question, and it's you. Kat.
Yeah.
Consolidate.
Do you feel like you have South Asian artist community is one question. Another question is, do you feel like the South Asian community, like your family, chosen family, folks like that, do they see your occupation as credible as an artist? And then last question, like what stories inspire you?
So first question was, is the South Asian artist community? So I'm just starting to feel like a real need to connect with that community. I'm mostly just, when I started pursuing art as a career, I was just happy to be around other artists who are doing it, like we're doing all the shows, we're doing Maker Faire, we're going to Comic-Con, a good friend of mine, Cody Vrosh, he was saying, we're like this carny group, like we travel to all these places and then we set up shop and we hang out and it's really intense and then we don't see each other for months, and then we like go on our carny trip again, and it kind of feels like that, you're getting ready for this event and then you have the ability to connect with your community, and that was at the time like more important or validating for me. And now I'm really interested in understanding and connecting with people who, I guess I always am. I want to connect with weird Indians, right? Because like I definitely didn't like all the predominantly Indian things growing up that like a lot of my cousins were into, and a lot of what the aunties really want you to like do, like I took 8 years of classical Indian dance, I did all that stuff, but I never found my people. And now being able to find South Asians who are also doing art or really like literature or want to go to like the same kind of punk or rock shows that I want to go to, that's really my jam. And so when I was thinking about that recently, I was realizing that there aren't that many of us making comics, but there are enough. And so I pitched, and it got accepted, the first South Asian Voices panel at New York Comic Con. So I'm really excited about that because it's also going to be an excuse for us to get together because we know each other from the internet, right? So that's really awesome and important. And family.
Yeah, how does your family respond to your profession, let's say?
So I'm riding off a real big high right now because I was just at my cousin's wedding, and it has been a while since I've seen all my family. And I'll say a couple things about this and try to be brief. I think it's really hard to support people when they're starting out, right? And in my community, it's really easy to support somebody who's on a traditional path. If you know you're getting your JD or you're in med school or you're gonna become an engineer, whatever it is, like people are down with that. They can support you, but it's way harder to support somebody who's doing something in the arts because you just don't have an example of like, well, I'm gonna point to this person and I'm gonna be like that person, so support me like, because I need to have that support. So I think my family in the beginning don't believe what they say, right? Like they were really worried, right? They didn't see any examples of how this could be successful. And we didn't have anybody in our humongous network who was doing anything in the arts, so as a profession. So I think it's a justifiable worry, right? You don't have that example, so how are you gonna be just like blindly confident that you are gonna be the shining star and you're gonna you're gonna overcome all these obstacles to get there? So initially, no. Now, heck yes. They are all about it, like and I haven't seen my family in a while. I'm totally the weird one. My family is composed of lawyers and doctors and engineers and business owners, and so there's me, I'm the artist, and I always felt like the odd person out. And then all of a sudden, like my cousins, my uncles and aunties are all pulling me aside and saying, "We're so proud of you." And I'm like, "What? What happened?" So that's a really amazing feeling. And I'm still like, whatever. I have a hard, I'm like all getting personal here. I have a hard time accepting that because like, you've been that weird person and you haven't been able to own it. And I don't know. So as much as I heard it all weekend, I'm still like, I'm trying to figure out how do I like let that in, And then what was the last part?
Who or what works inspire you?
Oh man, that could go on forever. But the one that I like to say the most, and I'm still amazed that I get to say that we're friends, is Gene Yang. Gene Yang wrote American Born Chinese, and it was the first comic that I read where I was like, oh my gosh, he's talking about like real stuff, and this is a published book. Maybe I could do something like this. It was that being able to see that it got nominated. It was the first comic nominated for the National Book Award. Like, it was legit, right? And, fast forward many years, we're on panels together, going out to lunch together. Like, that's an amazing thing. So American Born Chinese and Gene has been huge influence on my work. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you for your question. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Nidhi.
Thanks.
For having this Q&A. You can buy Nidhi's book and other illustrations and all the work at the Power Donut, where, well, this will also end up back there again. We just brought it from there because we're like, oh no, the projector isn't working. But this is perfect. Thank you. All right,
Thank you,
that's it.
SF Zine Fest, too. Woo. Yeah.